So this is my video on how to write less and say more by Van Dees. What lessons stand out? How may I apply them in my personal, academic, and professional life? Well, I have to be honest. I think I'm really spontaneously or instantaneously guilty of quite a few of these, and I can't really pinpoint which ones are. I can't really separate them out. If I had to say one, I would have to say stop being selfish. I don't necessarily think of myself as a selfish writer until I had to do the audience analysis, which was kind of like, well, it got me thinking, like, who am I writing this for? Like, why am I writing it? He mentioned about going and, keeping it simple or making yourself feel like, you're the next Hemingway or something, and writing and, Saturday afternoon writing our papers and feeling like Hemingway, and maybe just kind of keeping it simple, keeping it human. So I think that kind of goes along with not being selfish, just kind of keeping an eye on, like, who am I writing this for? Who's my audience? That goes along professionally too. I sell real estate, as I mentioned in other videos, and that has to do with how my audience is affected by that, and keeping it not selfish is knowing who's buying these properties and who I'm advertising to, because I sell quite a few homes that I actually personally wouldn't buy, and that's not, and a lot of new construction. I'm not into new construction. I have some qualms with them, but a lot of people like that because they don't have to do any home repairs, and it's kind of just it's a turnkey. So I have to think about my audience. It's not for me. The home is not for me. They sell very fast, so it's really not for me. So it's not something that, so you got a whole market here that's great for some people, and I have to think about who those people are that buying them, and how do I address them, and how to advertise toward them. Personally, kind of a little bit the same way, being a mother and a spouse, knowing how my messages are going to affect how my kids, I mean, I've definitely, and any parent can tell you, you go in with, an idea about how to communicate with your kids, but then your kids kick back at you and say, oh, well, you're doing this, or you're doing it this way toward me, and you realize, hey, you don't come to an anxious kid with anxiety yourself. I have an anxiety disorder, and so do my kid, and if you go to him with the anxiety that I have, then I'm just going to get anxiety back and kick back. But if I go with him and say, hey, I know he's going to have anxiety about this, if I go in it with a supporting, more loving attitude, it doesn't fall so much on deaf ears, and he hears it more. So I would think that so definitely stop being selfish, stop thinking about how the message affects me, and think about what my audience is. Think about who's buying my homes. Think about, how I'm talking to my spouse. Think about who I'm writing for in my papers. Because I realized, like I said, you sit there, you're thinking you're Hemingway, but I got to, as I'm reading through, my papers, now we did the writing 201 and now the 202, I'm thinking my writing style is not who I thought it was. My audience is not who I thought it was. So that's, I guess I'm going to go with stop being selfish. Yeah, thank you for sharing, and thank you for listening.